For more, we'll bring in Congressman James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee. He's joining us live now. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I just want to get your reaction there to Kilmeny's report, the National Archives admitting it has thousands of emails and electronic records related to pseudonyms allegedly used by then Vice President Joe Biden. Where are you in the process of combing through those emails, and is there more to this?
Well, we have copies of several of those emails, certainly not 5,400 like what is estimated that he used. But many of these emails that we have copies to are redacted. And we want the unredacted version because we already know of at least one email pertaining to Ukrainian policy at a time that fits when Devin Archer's testimony said that the owners of Burisma were squeezing Hunter to call Washington for help in getting Shokin, the Ukrainian prosecutor, fired, who was investigating the president's son's corrupt energy company in Ukraine. And we all know that days later, Joe Biden went to Ukraine and withheld foreign tax dollars in the form of foreign aid in exchange for terminating Victor Shokin, the prosecutor who was investigating his son. So we're very concerned now that Joe Biden was using pseudonyms to hide the fact that he was working with his son to peddle access to our enemies around the world in exchange for wire transfers that we've already discovered that went to shell companies or fake companies while he was vice president. So let's just think about this. The vice president at the time, Joe Biden, was using fake names in emails, and he also was working with his family to set up fake companies to receive wires from foreign nationals that were then laundered into at least 9 family members' bank accounts. I mean, this is one of the worst stories that I've ever heard with respect to any type of leader in the history of our country.
It would obviously, lead you, I'm sure, to question where the money is and where did it ultimately end up. Could you share an update on sort of the process of tracking down alleged payments to folks with the last name Biden?
Yeah, I mean, we've got $21 million thus far in bank accounts that were the part of wire transfers from foreign nationals to shell companies. And again, I can't reemphasize this enough. Shell companies are fake companies, just like a pseudonym. A pseudonym is a fake name. The same thing with these companies that were receiving the initial wires from these foreign nationals. And again, these were bad people in bad countries that were paying the Bidens tens of millions of dollars for reasons we don't know. All we know is, according to Devin Archer, they were selling the brand, and the brand was Joe Biden. We know that one of the instances of a potential policy decision that was made was Joe Biden has already admitted that he flew to Ukraine and withheld tax dollars to fire a prosecutor who was investigating his son's corrupt energy company. I mean, this is really bad stuff. And every week we find more information, more pseudonyms, more communication between Joe Biden and his family, more shell companies, more wire transfers. So this is getting worse by the day. And what we want to know a couple of more bank accounts that we believe that the president's son was using to pay for things of value for Joe Biden. So this is where we are in this investigation. We're at the point to where we're probably going to head to court to try to get some more bank records. But this is an investigation of Joe Biden. And I don't think the Democrats, they've defended Joe Biden for nearly a year now. Can they defend the pseudonyms? Can they defend the payments going to things of value for Joe Biden? That's where the Democrats are going to have a come to Jesus moment and decide how much longer they can defend the indefensible with respect to Joe Biden. With respect to the emails, I know that you said that you had copies on it and some of them were redacted. We actually have one, I believe, that is not redacted that we've got our hands on here. This is just kind of a zoom in here. And this is from one of the alleged pseudonyms, Robert L. Peters, CC Hunter Biden on that. And it says, boss, 8:45 a.m., prep for 9 a.m. phone call with President Poroshenko. This is just one. Where does your mind go when you see that? Well, I see that connects Hunter Biden to Joe Biden. At the time when Devin Archer said he was being squeezed by Burisma, by the owners, to call Washington for help, Now, remember, we already found an FBI 1023 form that alleged Joe Biden and Hunter Biden both took bribes from this guy who was squeezing Hunter Biden to call Washington, D.C. for help. Then Joe Biden, using a pseudonym, copies his son right before he leaves to go to Ukraine. At the same time, he was being pressured to call Washington for help. It looks to me like Joe Biden was saying, okay, son, you send that to the owner of Burisma and tell him help is on the way. Tell him daddy's coming and he's going to save us all. And that's what it looks like has happened. And they used a pseudonym to disguise it. That's why, I tell people when they say, why is it taking so long in this investigation? The pseudonyms are just an example. They have done everything in their ability to block and obstruct this investigation. Joe Biden wants to say he's the most transparent president of the United States. That's bullcrap. He's the least transparent president in the United States. If he were innocent, he would be cooperating with this committee and trying to save his good name. But he continues to act like there's nothing to see here. When that email on the screen is a government email where Joe Biden was using a pseudonym and he copied his son about a shady transaction where Joe Biden was going to leverage American tax dollars to save his son's butt and probably his own butt if that FBI form's right, that he took a bribe. So I think this is very concerning.
Could you talk to us about the timing of this all? Again, the allegations that this might have taken place before President Biden was in the Oval Office, does that impact what the House of Representatives might be able to do when it comes to inquiries, even opening one up about potential impeachment, as I know some of your GOP colleagues have called for?
It happened while he was vice president of the United States. And what we're concerned is we have no doubt the vice president is probably the most corrupt vice president in the history of America. You've already seen too many things where his family was creating these fake companies. They were getting all these wires from foreign nationals. They can't explain what they were doing to get this money. Does that compromise him as being president of the United States? Is that why he's soft on China? Is that why Joe Biden continues to put China first and America last? Because his family received millions and millions of dollars from China. Is that why we're giving Ukraine a blank check for their war against Russia? Is that because he accepted the bribe, like the FBI form said? Is it because he was sharing government information with his son and he leveraged tax dollars to fire that prosecutor, Shokin, who was investigating his son? I mean, these are legitimate questions, and there is more than enough evidence that would suggest the House of Representatives needs to take this at least to the point of impeachment inquiry.
Yeah, again, Kevin McCarthy saying that the only thing here is an impeachment inquiry would be a natural step forward. I wanted to move on to this before we let you go here in terms of the former President Donald Trump. Obviously, hasn't been indicted here now 4 times, twice federally. The big news that was made yesterday, which I'm sure you're aware of, in a D.C. court, Judge Tanya Chutkan went back and forth. This was with special counsel Jack Smith, and again, related to the 2020 election, and then also Trump's attorneys. And she goes back and forth with Trump's attorneys, but she ultimately set a trial date of March 4th, 2024, the day before Super Tuesdays for the primaries. Again, the Trump's team was looking for 2026, by the way. Jack Smith was looking for January, so a couple months over that. But here's what happened, or here's what came from the judge. Judge Tanya Chutkan said this: setting a trial date does not depend and should not depend on the defendant's personal and professional obligations. Mr. Trump, like any defendant, will have to make the trial date work regardless of his schedule. As you know, she's been a tough sentencer of the January 6th defendants as well. Do you have thoughts on this? Is there any examination as to, again, the judge's actions here? Is this appropriate in your mind in terms of setting a date such as this one?
Well, I just don't understand why you have a situation where the prosecutors have waited to the point of right up to the date of the primary elections. I mean, it would appear a political investigation is even more political if that were possible. I believe this should have been done years ago. I mean, what have they been doing for the past 4 years? I mean, it makes no sense to me. I think the American people have already lost confidence in our justice system in America. The damage that Merrick Garland has done to the reputation of the Justice Cabinet is almost irreparable. And I think this is just another unfortunate example of political interference.
All right. Again, that March 4th trial date is set. We're going to wait and see how it ultimately will work out with everyone's scheduling. You've got a lot of attorneys trying to wade through a lot of documentation before that. Congressman James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee. Sir, thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me.